Hi, I'm Joseph from iConixxx. Welcome. And I'm here with Chris Sorby, my partner in crime with iConixxx. And, you know, iConixxx has been quite successful. And now we have under iConixxx chain reaction. Wow, is this a chain reaction? So I'm going to save time, I'm just going to let you know that right now we have two major icons that have done a lot for our industry. Please be proud of what you're about to listen to. I'm going to throw it over to Chris. Chris will give you a little intro and they're off. Chris?
Yeah,
Sorby.
Thank you, Joseph. Yeah, so, you know, we're absolutely so honored today to have these two gentlemen with us. So one of them is Chris Baran. He's the expert facilitator, the consummate performer, multiple award winner in both Canada and the US. He's been training hairdressers for over 40 years. He's developed the Global Peak Performance System, and that enables hairdressers to be the best that they can be in their craft. So we're going to say a huge, huge welcome to Chris Baran. And also in the house today, we have Benni Tognini, Australian Hairdresser of the Year 3 times, 5 times Educator of the Year, Hall of Fame member. The list of honors just goes on. He's an artisan and an educator. Benni is a man driven by a passion to succeed in an industry that embodies his very essence. Let's hear their stories.
Thank you, Chris. Firstly, I just want to say what an honor this is. And Ben, you know, like we go way back. And I want to add on, and that was wonderful introductions that they gave us. And I want to thank you for that. You know, I also want to add to that, you know, you've literally traveled the world, Ben. You've been, God knows, I probably in every continent educating. You're a phenomenal educator. And what I also loved is the fact that you're a humanitarian, because every year you give away work going to other countries to help train them, so that they train people so they can become familiar with hairdressing. And you're also just an incredible family man. And I have to say, one of my very best friends in the world. So to me, it's not only honored to be able to do this, but you know, it's a little bit scary because I think we've got too many stories that may slip out here. You know, but
is that what we got?
Yeah,
a couple of days.
Keep it all above board, right? So,
mate, listen, thank you, and welcome everyone from all the way from Oz. Man, this is such a pleasure. You know, for anyone who's in this amazing industry, you know, a journey is something that we can take that away and feel very, very blessed in what we do. And you know what, the main thing, Chris, what I've really enjoyed, and you know, I'm still on the floor, still cutting hair, I've still got my clients. You know, it was really interesting because most of my clients wanted to listen than my staff, which is really interesting because the staff probably knows the history and the clients want to know the history. But it's absolutely a pleasure to be here, and thank you guys. I'm really flattered. You have no idea.
Ben, you we've hung around and we've had a few libations together, so I've learned a bit of your history and where you came from. But you started off, you were going to be a soccer superstar. You were in the soccer league, yes, and so you got to hair. How was the transition from sports to hair?
Well, like let me just start from the start. You know, my parents came from Italy, they moved to Australia, and so I was born in this little country town. There was probably only 15,000 people, and you know, the dream of a young boy in a country town, excuse me, was always bigger than anyone, I think, that lives in a city of just everything's given to you. And my dad was a builder. He had a really big building company. My mum was a dressmaker, so she loved design and pattern making, and it was really quite interesting because I think the role as a professional person, I wanted to be an architect, but this soccer career was huge in the sense of I got scouted from one of the major cities in Australia, which is Sydney and Brisbane. And I was 15 and obviously very underage, still going to school. And so I moved to Brisbane. I lived with my grandparents. I was flown to play in this national league here in Australia. And that's like any young kid, you know, my dream was to go to England. I had relations in Italy who played for AC Milan, and you know, and there was all the dream of, man, how much could I be paid, and you know, but never realized that career was a short career of sporting. So, put it in a nutshell, that career ended really fast once I was playing in the National League, and I broke my leg in 3 places, and that changed everything. And I think as everyone's going to listen to this story, there's always been some strong brick wall stopping me doing something. And it was always the fight to go through it, to overcome it. And so hairdressing, so this is where the hairdressing come in, because my father, who was thinking that I'm going into this development building world and, you know, being a bricklayer and, you know, hard yards. And as a young kid, and when we were on our school holidays, we'd go and work with him. And I hated it. I absolutely hated it. I didn't like that hard work, being in the sun, you know, pushing wheelbarrows of concrete and, you know, throwing bricks up. So, and I'm the middle child, and I've got 2 other siblings, a sister and a brother, and I'm the middle child. So I'm the peacemaker. So I've always learnt to talk my way out of things, always negotiating to get out of it. But I think I had more my mum's creativity and the softness, and she would always carry on going, "Oh, darling, you're a monster boy. You're 6'1". You're like white as a brick wall, and you know, but you're so soft and gentle. Maybe you should. Have you ever thought about hairdressing?" And I just looked at her and going, "Are you serious?" I said, you know, back then I'm thinking like, "But Mum, I'm not gay." And back then it was, you know, like anyone that thought a male hairdresser was gay, but we know that that's not true. And there's nothing wrong being gay, by the way. And it started, I was still going to school, and I would wag it, and I would go and I went to see this guy, and I walked in, and he looked at me and he goes, "So you're that young guy who's on the newspaper all the time, and you know, you're a great sportsman." And I'm going, "Yeah, I am, but I need to find something because my dad's going to really fucking kill me." Excuse my French, by the way. So it started, and that journey, you know, it started because of the hunger, because I didn't want to push this wheelbarrow, and I couldn't see it. And all my father, as an Italian migrant, was like, "Little boy, you need to understand. You need to wear a suit and tie. And if you wear a suit and tie, then you could be a very successful man." And I'm thinking like, what the hell is that? And I got it that he didn't want me to work on, you know, with pick and shovel, put it that way. And so that grew. And then as soon as I touched hair, you know, it was just amazing, because I think the amazing part first was all the females that would come in, and I was just gobsmacked. It was just like, oh my God, this is amazing profession. What other profession that you could work in, that you could see all these beautiful girls? And all I kept on going, I could date her, I could do that, I can do that, I can ask for a date. And I would sort of like line it up. But I was like the best shampooer, because whatever I did, I wanted to be, you know, passion. And it was like, I am shampooing your hair, they're making love to your hair, you know, this is what I'm doing. So it was just so fun. And it became fun, and then it came the technical side of it and all the skill side of it. And as soon as those scissors and comb came into my hand, it was just like, it was like the door opened, the light came in and went, welcome, my brother, welcome. So then it became more so, how do I become successful, and how do I become, you know, a known stylist? Because I worked in a large salon and extremely talented people. And I'm thinking, well, looks will go only so far and that will die. But if I learn and if I keep training and I keep just wanting, I would grow. So success back then for me was to have a full book. And a full book was, if I could book out my book for 8 weeks solid straight, I knew that I was going to be very successful in my little town. And that grew to competitions. And because my boss, who is Stelios Pappas, he was in competitions and he won lots of awards, but it was very much all the coiffure hairstyles. And these hands, see how big they are? So when I went to college, my first day at college, college was like a Taft College or an academy, but they had an academy for welders, bricklayers, boiler makers, and so on and so on. And I walked into the hairdressing section, and the teacher said to me, "Oh, I think you're in the wrong class. Like, you're in the wrong room. Like, this is hairdressing, and this is not, you know, boiler maker, steel maker." And I looked at her and I went, no, I want to become a hairdresser, and, you know, I work at this place. And it started from there when she said, let's put a roller in the hair. Like, this is day one. So you're sectioning up, you know, using a talc comb, and you know, it's like this little thing in this big hands. It's like, and everything's dropping. So, you know, you have your little trolley, everything around me, and I'm the only one that has this mess around everywhere. And I'm thinking, oh, what the hell am I doing here? And that was probably the day I made the decision that I would not set hair. I wouldn't do the coiffure hair. I would become this cutter. I want to become a cutter because I could comb the hair, cut the hair. And so anyway, from there, that what made me hungry to go, so who's the best cutter? Who's the best cutter in the world? And at that stage, there was a beautiful man called Vidal Sassoon. Yeah. And it took me 12 years of this belief in my head to wanting to go to London to be just trained under their academy, because they, you know, everyone seen that was the best. And I thought, no, if I'm going to be the best, just like how I was playing soccer, you be trained by the best and hang out with people by the best. So the most important thing that I learned from that stage was I just hung around people who were successful, and they were always older than me. And the main thing from that was that if I couldn't be successful, something would brush on me, and I would learn how they became successful. And for me, it was like copying someone, because there's often that we all, doesn't matter what we do, you know, there's a famous rock star or a singer or whatever. You want to be them. You want to dress like them, the fashion. And that was my hairdressing. All I just did is copy, but I realized it was a lot of hard work. I realized that practice made perfect, train, never be happy what you achieve. Keep looking, keep searching. And there was always something there. And that dream came true. The day I left, I worked for my boss for 12 years, and I left him. And after winning a few awards, I really ended up going, okay, I want to live my dream. I opened a salon. I had, you know, during that time, I met my beautiful wife, Tracy. we had 2 beautiful children, Christian and Julian. And I just remember the first month I opened that salon, I made a pact to myself. I made a pact that I would go to America and I would do a show. Don't ask me where that came from. It just came out of somewhere, you know, like it wasn't pre-planned or anything. It just happened. And, but within that month, I went to London, and I was there for a couple of months, and I went to two most wonderful people, which was at Sassoon's, and then I met a gentleman called Trevor Sorby, and I went to his academy when he had his academy there. And I think I just can't remember one of the educators, but I think he's in US at the moment, doing so well. And then I was, you know, I learned about the skill and the practice and the minimalistic of how you achieve things versus to someone who had a flair and, you know, had a bit more avant-garde feeling to his work. Very humble person, complex, but humbled. And I built this relationship. It was really amazing. But the most important thing out of that was I went to the very first Salon International for myself. And as a young dude, I turned up with 2 suitcases. And back then we did all our photographs on 35mm little film slides.
Yep.
You remember that type of thing?
Yep.
And because all these magazines would come into Australia, and I'm thinking like, how does one person do that? And so I filled my suitcase up. So during that time, so you can imagine, during 12 years of being a hairdresser, I reckon probably 8 years of that, I started shooting, and I met this, I met this guy who was a light boy on a Penthouse shoot, and I was assistant to my boss, and which I thought it was really great because, you know, naked women and, you know, all that sort of stuff. So I thought, I am going to enjoy this. I like photo shoots. Forget about the hair. I just love photo shoots. And then we started working together, and his name was Ian Golding, and we worked probably for 20 plus years and won many, many awards and traveled the world with him. And we did, you know, the good thing is that we were learning, and our journey together was really quite amazing. So here's this suitcase full of all these photos. And I realized that I was watching Trevor, and I would go over to see Sassoon's and Tony and Guy, and all these phenomenal companies. And especially when at that time, it was so young and raw and so different. It's like any young superstar now, it's like these people were the people. And if you were going to emulate anyone, these are the people. And you sat on the edge of on the chair, and like all of us, you know, you sit on the edge of the chair, and it's maybe they can probably be telling you full of rotten stuff, but as a young person, I was just like, yes, yes, yes. And then I would sneak at the back and follow where they would go. And then they would go to this press room, and they had back there, and I poked my head in, and I saw all these great people in there talking to these editors, and I'm thinking like, what the hell, like, how do I get in here? How do I get a pass? So I snuck under the curtain from the back way, and I came in and I sat down pretending that I was an editor of a magazine. And then as all the other editors, as all the other hairstylists left, I was still sitting there, and they're going, well, we haven't met you. And I said, oh, yes, I'm Benni Tognini from Australia. Oh, Australia. We don't really, like, what magazine do you from? I said, I'm actually not from a magazine. I'm a stylist, and I've got all my collection here. And if you'd like to have a look, I'm very happy. And they go, okay. So everyone just had a collection, which was 6 photographs, you know, and the little portfolio. I opened the suitcase, and there is something like 380 photos for them to look at. And, yeah, and as a young guy, so proud, you know, like so full of excitement, because I'm thinking, I can't believe I'm just snuck in and these people looking at my work. And, you know, and as, you know, in my head, my feathers were getting bigger, thinking how beautiful these photos. They're going to publish it around the world. Oh, can you imagine? Instant fame. Look, oh, and I'm carrying on like this. So that's going in here. And then they all just look at it and no one took anything. And I'm just like, I'm going like, this one is really nice. This one's really like, did you see that? Like, can you see that? And I think one of the editors was brave enough to sort me out. And she just said to me, she said, you know, we love your enthusiasm and never lose that enthusiasm. But here's the difference. Maybe you go back home and you hire a professional model and not use your cousin or one of your relations or someone with a broken nose or someone that's, you know, extremely overweight or underweight, and they went for it. But probably the really good thing out of that, one of the magazines took 6 photos, and those 6 photos came out and that went into every hairdressing salon, especially in Australia. And I was so proud. And I'm thinking, wow, if I just save up a little bit more money, maybe I can pay for one of these models. But my problem was, I know models, I couldn't cut their hair, I could do these wild colors, I could do all this. And then I started learning about wigs, and, you know, there was other ways to skin this cat. And I think that's when, for me, because I've probably been more known for my avant-garde, was the story where I actually had to go back to the time when I couldn't put the roller in someone's hair to understand, you know, wig making and designing avant-garde work, and, you know, how to prepare it. And that was just another total journey. So I hope I answered your question.
I think there was several that you answered in there, Benny. But what I love is there's a couple things that really come to my mind when you were talking. That no, let's because you're on avant-garde right now. You know, and I know that all of us have delved into avant-garde work. So tell me, number one, this is going to be a two-sided question. Number one is, why avant-garde? Why avant-garde? And then, because I'm sure that we've all had that, where you'll get a client looking at, and you'll do something avant-garde, and the first thing the answer you get is, well, who would wear that? So tell us what inspires you. Where do you go, and where does the need come to not only create it and do it, but how do you develop it in your brain so that you take something that other people can see so far to maybe the left or right, but yet you have a way of making it so tasteful, because you've got this incredible eye to be able to know the difference between the two. So for our viewers, can you give them some detail of, number one, why avant-garde? What does it do for you? And then how do you deal with, like, is there ever any doubt that comes into your mind when they ask you those questions? Or, like, what do you get out of it? What does it make? How has that helped to make Benni Tognini?
Great questions. Lots of questions in that. Avant-garde, it started way back, as I was sharing. It started purely because, I never did avant-garde to put it in the salon so my clients would walk out with these, amazing headpieces.
Right.
To me, it was always in the right place at the right time. And I think over time I learned that. I didn't know that at the beginning. I loved sculpturing. I loved playing, but I didn't like playing with, steel, wood, typical sculpturing stuff. Hair for me was really fascinating. And I think when we opened our salon 32 years ago, and I loved extension work. I loved a guy called Simon Forbes. I thought he was like an extreme wacky person.
Yeah.
How he molded nylon hair and how you melt it. And that started a whole thing, because I started wearing my hair like that. So lots of dreads, and, you know, discovering wax and wearing my hair like fettuccine and putting in chains, and just, you know, all these wacky stuff that my parents actually freaked out about. And everyone thought you're just a Fruit Loop freak. And, but it gave me more pleasure because it was their reaction to what I was doing. But I was knowing that I was a husband of 2 boys, very straight, not into drugs, like a little bit of alcohol, and that was it. So avant-garde came then, was just discovering exactly putting a roller in the hair, because I couldn't do it. So I'd get a mannequin head, or I'd get a hairpiece, and I'd just wrap it around, and started learning that, and then started learning. And I think at one stage, Chris, texture, perming, was really interesting. And for me was like, why does something has to be round? Why does a curl has to be round? And that really bugged me. And then I invented this white men dread, which was a flat wrap around a skewer stick, and you tie 2 pipe cleaners on either end, and you get this most perfect dread. But what I wanted the dread to do is, people have this feeling about dreaded hair that it's never been washed, it's dirty, there's some animals living in there, whatever. So because I didn't have Afro hair or anything like that, we would always experiment on my head. So we came up with that, and it worked. So we started, it probably really started then, and it just built that, realized that, why do I need to do hair that looks like hair, but I want it to be my base. And then realize that, you know, you could burn it, you could glue it together. So I started a filing system in the salon. So I had this big filing system, and I would put everything in a brown paper bag. Everyone I cut their hair, and I had their name, and I'd file it, and I'd keep all their hair, because I realized that the hair never dies. It always has its niche. And then with all that hair, because I didn't have that much money, I'd learned to, you know, play with it, color it. So it started teaching me what I really needed to do, what I should have done back in college, what I should have done, all these things. But at that time, it wasn't right. It just didn't sit with me. But it came at a stage where I need to learn. And I started learning more. And, you know, it was probably that stage when I actually entered into the Recon world for 17 years of learning about the science behind the hair, and understanding all that, and, you know, having a wonderful opportunity to have the magic recipe book of Recon, of what all the things you could do. And it really started at that early stage, and it was no purely like, I'm doing this for an award, I'm doing for this. This was it. It was just like what I did on my weekends, what I did late at night. I used to go to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning. I would do that 7 days a week. I just know the Sundays that I would have off, you know, the kids would go off and play the sport. I would be in my studio, just playing.
Yeah.
And I could
experimenting with hair.
Yeah. And it really started, purely as a creative field. So it was like, you know, painter is into painting, and I was into hair. Yeah. And you know what the greatest thing is, that journey, it taught me lots of things. It really did teach me to master my craft, because it was patience, because a lot of headpieces would take 4-6 months to make. And, you know, it was one of those things where I'm a pretty impatient type of person. I just don't like standing still. And I found that was really soothing for me.
Yeah,
but it gave me a lot of time to think creatively. And all I, you know, kept thinking is, those shows that I saw in London, that's who I want to be. Yeah. And, you know, I thought, you know, just emulate it until you make it, and then you'll learn to find your own direction. You have your own style, you have your own finesse to give back. And shows for me back then, with because avant-garde is what got me into the shows. It wasn't actually my cutting and color work. It was like everyone thought it was quite amazing. And how did you do it? So it was really interesting. It started from there, where now where we have this little off the top educational company, it's just purely basic cutting, and it's gone
Full
totally
circle.
around. But it was the discipline, and how do you put it into place? And I suppose avant-garde, that's what really made me fascinating. And the best probably compliment that I've ever got with my avant-garde was when it was put into the modern contemporary art, and it was recognized as an art form, because I used to get really passionate about the media making fun of our work because it was so out there, that they, instead of focusing on all the good things and how beautiful that a woman would look with hair, they would focus on this avant-garde stuff, and they would just, it would just always be a joke. And avant-garde to me, it's not like putting a pineapple on someone's head or recreate a pineapple tree or whatever. It's the hair that we work with, and just I do a lot of judging now, and especially in avant-garde, and it's changing that much that I feel that we could actually lose it, because it's really losing the substance of, go back to the form of hair and how do you design that hair, not let's find something that looks like hair and we'll just stick it on there, or we Photoshop it, or we do these things. So, I think it's really interesting, because my feeling towards the passion that I have about photos and in our industry has changed so much, because I find that it's not real anymore. And, you got to go back to the consumer and go, so how do you see that? How do we recreate that back in the salon? Because that's what my staff say. And as much as you want to be as different or wacky or interesting, you still got to bring it back to a form that's that what made us get into this industry, is making people feel great, feel good about themselves, look good, and feeling probably one of the, I'm now going off the track here, one of the really good things I love still cutting hair is, and my clients are, are getting older. They're probably, 20 years older than me. So they're getting very close to their 90s, but they still come in for a haircut that they go, we want a haircut that if it's a bob, it's not to look like anyone else. And that was probably, if anyone's still there listening, if you can do your hair work and have a signature to it, have an edge, and it could be the most quirky little thing that makes the client feel individual, because we are not copiers anymore. You take it and you take it to another level. And it's like I say to my staff, don't be lazy. Like if someone wants a bob, do something interesting, do some type of interesting graduation, or do, place something that it's just quirky, because the quirkiness gets noticed. It's the norm of day-to-day things that never gets noticed. It just goes by you and you never take it on. Avant-garde taught me that, because avant-garde taught me how to see things better.
Yeah, Benny, what I loved about what you were saying is that, in most cases, people always think that there's a problem and to that there's a solution. But when they say, in other words, I want to become a better hairdresser, and my solution is to take classes. My solution is to put money into it. My solution is to take the extra time. But so that solution can often present as many problems. But what I see, and I've always seen in you, is you always picture the result of what you're going to be at the end of it. Excuse me. And then all of a sudden, everything you have to put into it is not such a big deal. So if you're thinking, like to the listeners that we have out there, people watching this, is to remember that when you put yourself in a place of discipline, that if you say, I want this is what I really want to do, and I have a problem with this, I can't create a bob, and I only know one way of doing a bob, and I know that I got to get to another place. That's where you've got to picture yourself there first, then you'll put in, if you know what you're going to be at the end of it, you'll know that at the end of the game, you're always going to be able to put the time in, put the effort in to all of that. Is this making sense?
Yep.
Yeah. So,
Chris, I have a really simple thing. A lot of people go on about consultation and things like that. And one thing that I train and really try and make people see, because we're visionary people, we see, we tactile. So my question to a lot of stylists, and they go through all the different systems of consultation, and I just look at it really, really simple. Our mind has a library of lots of photographs, lots of hairstyles, and when asking some key questions, you eliminate those photos. So it's like when you get onto your phone or computer and you've got all your photographs, and it's how easy to scroll through. For me, my mind goes straight to when I'm having a client, and let's just go back to this bob. I see it. Like, I know what I'm going to do, because as soon as you do that, and probably the most important thing I always go, the face is the picture, the hair is the frame, and your frame makers and the hairstylists need to really understand that just learn that and just keep it simple, and don't confuse it, because clients come in and they need advice. They want your advice, and they want you to help them. They don't, the old words, and it still goes around after 45 years is, are you happy with your hairstyle? Same again. Let's just trim it, all that sort of stuff. So the goal in doing anything is, I cannot remember what I did last time. And I think I'll challenge people out there. If you can remember every haircut you do, every section you do, then you're just having a lens of yourself. I was going to swear, sorry. Having a lens of yourself. So for me is to go, I'm not going to do, that's great that you love your hairstyle, but let's just change it. But it was always the one most important thing that I've always learned is, see it, you got the picture in your head, and then you aim for it. So how do you set your consultation up that really quickly? And it's really easy. Like, there's like a very 5 quick step where, what you like about your hair, what don't you like about your hair. The most important thing is, which I find is, tell me what your day looks like. Do you go to the gym in the morning? Are you a professional person? After that, what do you do? Because then it's easier. Because what I really am passionate about, that I don't like with a lot of long hair, is they don't do it.
Yeah.
And they just put it in a ponytail. And I'm thinking, like, is a ponytail is the best thing? Because professionally, when you're on a catwalk, a ponytail looks amazing, but no client does that.
Right.
So how do you get them to wear their hair? How do you get them to actually make them do their hair? Which is really, for me, it's really important, because still working with clients, doesn't matter what we do in this world, doesn't matter how many awards you win, your client gets up and she walks out, she makes her last judgment. You are at that mercy of that particular look. And for me, always say, why is our salon going? Because we just do work that people walk out and they are proud. They bounce out. Like, you see long, short hair. It's just, I love them when they walk out of the front door, and just watch them, because our whole salon is all glass, and I can see them walking across the road, and you can see them just moving, and you see their body language. The body language changes, and all these things. These are key things in just hairdressing that sometimes we just don't see. We think it's all about us, the stylists, and how creative I am. And I'm going, yeah, but that haircut didn't suit that client.
Right.
Like, you were being a real artist, or we can say something else, artist on the client and the haircut. Yeah, I can't can't pick it, that, you know, it's perfect. But, you know, look at it, it's the wrong thing. So marrying that all together, it's been really interesting, because I know that a lot of people, and, you know, for a stage that we just kept traveling around, and people have this perspective of, you know, you are this, and I'm going, but I'm not. I'm a hairstylist. Like, I go back, I'm just like all of you. You know, I get up in the morning, I have a shower, put some clothes on, I go to work. You know, I either hug my wife or kiss my wife, or she slaps me because we're having a fight. Whatever. You know, our life is all similar. It's just it's so similar, and it's real. But how do we make real to be better? How do we make real to be something that I have the knowledge, and what I love about, what I'm enjoying about my journey is gaining knowledge is really important. And, you know, I always say where success for me was having a full book. Success for me is about knowledge, about learning and growing, never to stay in one place, because as soon as I stay in one place, it smells. You need to just look at things and, you know, believe. That's probably the number one thing. And the power in, it's okay to dream. It's okay to dream, to go, I want to be on top. I want to be number one. I want that. There's nothing wrong with that, because the journey for you just to move forward that's the journey. And the thing that I've learned out of that is, yeah, I have been the most cheekiest hairstylist that you could ever met, because I wanted to be these people, and I wanted to, because I respected that. And but the thing that was probably the most important thing that I love, before I even go into a class now or anything I do, is, what is my audience going to take away from this? What is their experience? And if I just go back and I just remember when I met Mr. Trevor Sorby, and it was in Brisbane, Australia, and it was at a hair expo, which is our trade show. And I went down to Sydney to see him perform, because he was like, my God. And he asked a question into that audience saying, you know, is anyone in this audience coming to London? And someone put their hand up, and he said, great. So I'll see you in London at the end of the year, and you can come to our academy course for a free course, right? So I knew that he was going to say this at the next show that he was on. So I followed to the next show, and I was sitting there, and I was waiting. So this is a week later, and you know, we were doing our own shows, and, you know, like when you're a known person in your own hometown, everyone, you know, strikes you and all that. And all I was just waiting for him to just say, who's going to London? And there was 3,000 people in the audience. I stood on my chair and I jumped up and down on the chair like this. I'm going. I wasn't going to London, but I'm going. And I just remember that's how I won that course that I spent there for a week. And it was just absolutely amazing. And you know, that was when I met Trevor and I met Chris. I think that night I came over their place, and, you know, it's okay to have, you know, people that you admire, and, you know, and I think it's really, really important that, you know, you treasure that, because the things that you learn, the things that you get out of by meeting people and just talking, being real, is so much more than stuff that you think that you are God gift. And so for me, it's so important that, you know, be real, and the real that you are, you accept failure, and failure comes with growth. And if you don't, you know, if you don't make mistakes, you don't grow.
Yeah.
We're all not put on this earth to be perfect. We were put on this earth to learn stuff. And to me, that's what, you know, I endeavor all the time. I still, and even to today, I'm so curious about life, and I'm so curious about what happens. And, having my two boys, and now they're in the company, and just to see their mindset. And I love them because it's challenging, the conversations that we have, it's always challenging for them. And they go, Dad, why do you make things so difficult? I said, I'm not making it difficult. I just want you to think. Life is not easy. Like, get over it. It's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be there so you learn lessons. So then it's your actions of what you do is what makes a difference. How did I get onto that?
Yeah.
I've just gone off track. Sorry.
Ben, I'm glad that you brought up the kids, because you have an amazing business that you've created there, and the Tognini brand is known like literally throughout Australia and the rest of the world as well. But part of it is this: you have an incredible culture inside of your organization, and you just started to touch on that. And so, we get to the point in our careers where we've been down those paths before. And I'm sure right now, if I said to you, you're going on a world tour, you'd probably say, okay, I'm going to start making pieces right now. But there gets to be the point where
they've been made.
Yeah, they're made and ready to go. But there's that point where you have to have a culture within, and that you're going to train other people up. So can you tell us anything about some of the cultural things, some of the things that are culture that you've got within your salon, about trainings? What do you, I'm going to use the word demand. It's not the right word for right now. It's the only one I can think of. But when you, because I know you have people that are lined up that want to work in your salon, you just don't have space for them. So what makes Tognini's and the training system that you have, the type of person you're looking for, what makes that person? What are you looking for, and what is it you want out of them when they're in the salon? Because you've created people that have worked for you and have gone on their own and become famous in their own right. So what is it that you do? What is in that culture? What is it that you want them to do, be, become, etc.?
Chris, I think the most important thing is the interview that I do with them is that if you come here, I want them to become better than who I am. I want them to have more than what I've got. And if they are not prepared to think that way, then I know I'm wasting my time. So when that interview is done and they agree on, yes, I'm going to work my heart out, and I'm going to learn, and because I think a lot of people, before they come even through the door, they will know that if you come to us, it's not going to be an easy road. Right. I'm not here to make it easy for you. I'm here to you become a master. And the master for me is to learn something, because a lot of people do lots of things and become master of nothing. And that's just, for me, it's just waste of energy, waste of time. And it's just having really good coaches and put in place to help them to direct them in a way that they understand that. But a young mind versus an old mind like this is totally different. So there's a lot of culture that goes into that, in the sense of belief and how we do things. Right. And it's not like here's the Bible and this is what you've got to obey by. The most important thing is you're an individual. And probably one big thing that I don't agree is that to put them in a uniform, because I said, a uniform just confines you, that I'm branding you. I want you to be you. I employ you because you have a mind, a dream, and you're an individual. And I will learn from you as much as you will learn from me. So that's really important at the beginning. And these young kids, and they can be young or mature, come involved. And most of the people then come in, and they they've been trained well. For me, with any of my young apprentices, which we have a system here where they can go to the college or they go and do, 15 months training and become qualified. My argument that I have constantly with our government here is 51% pass is not, it's acceptable for them. So they move on to their next module. For me, it's like, it's 98% you've got to pass it. You've got to know it. Because you've done 1 or 2 or 3 little one-length haircuts, you don't know it, because you're talking to a mannequin which is not talking back to you, and you're not understanding all the quirky things about a human being and the texture, the texture of the hair. So, for me, I have a rule that, after you do 102 one-length haircuts, and it has to be curly, fine, straight, wavy, whatever textured hair, old, young, because it gives you all the different things. I said, so when you're actually doing a client and something's not working, so what do you go and do? You go at the back and go, holy shit. Yeah. And I said, your whole body just goes into a sweat. And I said, yep, you're going to learn, but isn't this the time that we learn? And so the discipline comes really important. So discipline comes with, setting up a really good program for them. So the good thing that we've had at Tognini's is until the beginning of the year, I took every training.
Right.
And everyone couldn't believe that I would still do the training. And I went, no, for me, this is really important. Learn the basics, because I know I'm going to teach you how to break every rule. Yes. But you need to learn. So, and the hardest thing that I'm finding right now is that I've handed it all over, and all the educators that I've trained are now doing the training.
Yeah. And
it's hard, it's hard to let go, but you know what, they're doing it, they're probably doing it better than what I'm doing, because I'm not, he's not the old cranky bastard that turns up and goes, come on, let's do it. So the start of the culture comes from the beginning and just learning. It might take a little bit more time. And as a company, we will support our team members. We will take them through this. I'm not after them to, you're working for me and you need to bring me back more money. At that early stage, it's all about learning about customer care, learning about connection, body language, everything you do. I want it to be an experience. But what happens with that is it's like a melting pot. The ones that rise, the ones that grow are the ones that I handpick, and they're the ones that we spend a lot of time with. The ones that we let go is then I help them to find another job.
Yeah.
And my suggestion to them is, I believe that you should be working for this company because our company is this, and you would probably excel in that. One thing I have learnt in the last 3 weeks, because we've just opened a new salon, and its target market is just for long hair, balayage, high-end clients, blow dries, and that's it. No short haircut comes out of that hairdressing salon. The people that are work in there are super enthusiastic towards doing beautiful hair. The salon is set up, it's very girly. A high-end market, like high-end market, wealthy young girls between 17 to 35. That's our target market. That salon is rock and rolling. Like, wow. I cannot feed that salon any more staff because we can't fit them in there. And I realized that what the boys are teaching me now, because I've become the student now. The boys are teaching me about that there is discipline in our company. There is structure, and it's awesome that Tracy and I are still involved in that side of it, but the boys have these amazing concept ideas, and the ideas where my ideas are always, it has to last for 10 years. You know, this is our 10-year plan. Their idea is, you know, it's going to go for about 2 years, and you know, it's like any club, bar, or wherever you go to.
Yep.
It all, you know, a new bar happens and everyone flocks to it. But over the 2 years, it just disappears, and that's how they want to build these salons. So they have this great concept, which is now making me sit down and re-strategizing, how do we do this training and how do we get these people, because you know, it's becoming to hit a target market, and because we are here in Brisbane, it's growing so fast that we're getting all these varieties of people, and we're just setting up small concept salons to last like that, and then shut it in people, and the young people are coming. And you know, we have this argument in our industry, we can't find staff, and I'm going, you know what, I'm just going to zip my mouth, because whatever we're doing is working. And all I just say to the industry is, stop looking at it the way we used to do it. You know, look at it in a very fresh eyes. And the greatest thing for us as a family is to have Tracy and Christian, my oldest son, who are non-hairdressers, who are people who are like our clients, consumer. And they just keep telling us, like, yes, you're the creative one, but you always think creative, and your salon is just, you know, it's creative. It's all about us. And like, even with the, you know, the music and all that type of thing, it's like always pleasing the staff, but you're not pleasing the client. And, you know, just really little things that make such a big difference. And if any young person's listening to this, take it in a way that we respect what you've got. We respect how you see things in fresh eyes. But there's a great balance between fresh eyes and knowledge, and the know-how is really, really important. That, you know, keep doing that, because we'll listen and we'll help you to achieve your dream and support that. But it has to work both ways. It's not. It's, you know, it's not a society of.
Ben, we've got about 2 minutes left here, so
Whoa.
I'm gonna ask you one quick question here, and is I want you to put you in a place, is if you could have an opportunity to have an evening dinner with 4 people, living, dead, or whomever, who would you invite and why?
Okay, I would have, yeah, this is so easy. I would have my really good friend, Robert Lebetta. You know, Robert and I go a long way, but Robert was the same thing. You know, I snuck in, and I just ran around after him like a human being, that thinking like, what am I doing? I just thought he was this, I like his mind.
Yeah.
I like how he challenged things. He can be, you know, the most phenomenal visionary of how he sees things. That's really curious. That always has got me curious. I definitely would invite Mr. Trevor Sorby, because I think he probably gave me a lot. I learnt a lot in watching his career. Not that I would do everything that he's done, but I think, you know, someone when that touched you really early and helped you to understand different things. I really enjoyed that. And as each person that I'm talking to comes with a whole family of people around them, and it would be nice that, you know, if there was more than 4 people. And I would invite my friend Chris Baran, because my friend Chris Baran I met in many years ago. I won't even mention.
We'll leave the year out.
Leave it there. And it was my very first presentation that I did in America. It was a Reckon Symposium. And I know that person was a very major force in my life, and it became a really good friend. And he, Chris, you saved me. You saved me from myself, because I was a road. I was a wild man. I was a person that, wanted to be heard, and you taught me how to skin a cat so many ways. And you always taught me about there's plan A, plan B, plan C, and never to give up. If that's what you believe in the heart. And we became good friends, and I would have him there because not only that he drinks good red wine, but there's so much that we keep learning from Mr. Baran, that the world should be singing your praise. And last all, I would have my wife, and she's the equalizer. She's been the person behind my success, hands over many, many times. She has saved me from doing such stupid things in my life, and made me see things for the true value, and always keep it at a level of realness. Never get ahead of yourself, never have a big head, and just be really grateful. So that would be the 4 people I would have there. But it would then become a big party, because those 4 people will bring so many people along. And one thing that I've learned from this industry is that as a very young boy from a little country town, I've met so many amazing people who have stimulated me, who have motivated me, who have innovated me, who have actually has molded me to become who I am right now. And the beautiful thing is, everything that I have, I don't own it. And the best way that I learn is by sharing it and letting it go, because it allows for amazing stuff to come in, and it allows for all these new chapters to happen in my life. So I've been a very blessed guy in this industry. And for me, this industry has, for anyone, doesn't matter what they do, if they ever want to walk into an industry, this is an industry that it has so many doors that opens for you, that you can add to your career, which is really, I think, so important, that we continually open these doors and search. So I'm being blessed, and I'm so thank you for having me on the program.
And Benni, I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you the last and probably the most difficult question of any of the questions that came up, because there's a lot of people that are going to be looking at this and looking at you and saying, "Well, he did all that could never happen to me," and I think they're going to see that out there. So here comes this difficult question. In one word, what would you tell that person in one word? If you could sum up everything that you said down to one word that they need to be, do, or have, what is that one word?
Persistent.
Persistence. Beautiful. Thank you, my friend. It has been my honor. And I'm
Wow.
going to throw this back over to Chris and Joseph. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
Wow.
Wow. You know, Benni, you were just talking about things that you've shared, and that you don't own anything. And what you have shared with our audience and the industry, because this iConixxx chain reaction will be living as a video in our library on YouTube, and it'll be there for as long as YouTube is around. And whatever comes after that, we'll make sure it's there too. But honestly, you have been so generous with your words. That's who you are, Benni Tognini. You are a giver. And we are so honored and so blessed that you and Chris you know, your contributions to lead Benni's thoughts. We just knew that you'd be a match made in heaven. So that was why we wanted you together. We've waited a long time to get you guys together.
Here we have, haven't we?
Yes, we have. We're like brothers that joined at the hip from mothers that aren't the same in different
Whatever.
No, you know, that's why I had all my hair cut off and my beard cut off.
There
We
you
were
go.
looking very similar.
Exactly. But honestly, what an honor. And
Thank
we
you.
thank you for the bottom of our hearts to come from Brisbane, Australia, and to come from Phoenix, Arizona. Joseph, I know you have been chomping at the bit throughout this entire interview. I just know it. Anyway, I love you and thank you.
Thank you.
We love you guys.
Yep. Love you guys. Thank you very much. I have nothing to say. Believe it or not, I'm speechless. And I know Chris and Chris aren't going to believe that. What I took in and what I know is going to be gathered and flow through the viewers that are going to watch. This is going to be unsurpassed to anything that really is out there with the stories that I just heard. So I have to just say this. I'm blessed as well. This has been a dream of mine come true to see what I'm seeing and witnessing. Like Chris said, are you kidding me? It's documented. It's there. And it needed to be. And this moment has gone on in YouTube lives forever. But guess what? Now it's shared seriously to the world of stylists and beyond. So I can't think I thank you both. I really thank you both. And it was great.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was great.
I have a request of Benni Tognini.
See.
Would you be up for interviewing and doing a chain reaction with our good old mate, Robert Labetta?
That would be absolutely an effing pleasure.
I will effing get that organized.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, it would be.
That would be.
You haven't interviewed him yet?
No, because he, like you, is not easy to get hold of. But I think actually, I think maybe we would do him separately. We'd like to do you alone as well. And then you and he together, I think, would be another match made in heaven. What do you think, Chris?
Well, I think that would be amazing.
Well, yeah.
Watching that puppy.
Mm-hmm.
Could we do that face to face though?
Oh God.
Hey, how about that?
I think we'll have to come down to Oz though, because that's the only country.
I do. I do too.
Well, I know Robert's buzzing to come back here. He's like, when we're going to do another shoo-shoo, I'm going, no, please. Please.
Funny.
But yeah.
Well,
but thank you, Chris.
I
that
love
was great.
all of you, and I've got to go because I've got to be somewhere in 5 minutes. So with all that being said, you guys, I love you very much. I'll stay in touch. This is all going to be put into recording, and of course, you'll be notified where it is, how it is. And Benni, share it with your staff, please, and everybody else that you could possibly think of. Because that's what I'm going to do. All right, guys.
Okay.
Thank
Chris,
you.
Benni,
Ciao.
Chris.
Ciao.
Mwah.
Ciao.
Ciao.